Good morning, Madalena.
Good morning, Kate.
How are you?
Well, I'm fine.
Well, here we are again after a year of looking at Kleist and about a million things in between, whatever happened to come our way. And we've discovered one thing about our attitude towards literature, generally about an attitude towards literature, which has changed significantly since I went to university, and probably you as well.
Yeah.
Everything was compartmentalized, everything was put into little boxes, whereas in fact the reality is that writing and art and music is a continuum. It's a continuum that has never changed in the 10,000 years that people have been writing stories, and probably more, except that we don't have the evidence in front of us, but we can just go on conjecture there. So this compartmentalizing of studies, literature, music into learnable categories just has nothing to do with reality. And criticism also has changed in the same way. We're into a less technical and a far more emotional, sentimental approach now. And we're able to connect things which once upon a time would have been considered frivolous. For example, we were at an art show recently, and there was this piece of sculpture, rather abstract, and the critic said it reminded him of Darth Vader's helmet, and everybody laughed. But it wasn't frivolous. It's what we feel now, is part of our reality now. And perhaps the shape of Darth Vader's helmet is something deep inside our subconscious. For sure it is. The way things are connected are completely different now. We can give rein to our imagination, and things slot into that in a far more natural way, which I think is an improvement.
Yes, of course. And in this year we have been trying to apply this new kind of approach to Michael Kohlhaas too. And this will be our last recording about Michael Kohlhaas.
I hope so.
Yeah, farewell.
Yes. So who or what is Michael Kohlhaas?
Well, Michael Kohlhaas, many believe that Michael Kohlhaas is Kleist's prose masterpiece. It is a text which was written between 1808 and 1810, the most prolific period in Kleist's life.
And Kleist, tell us something about Kleist.
Well, Kleist, very concisely, was a Prussian officer born into a noble family with remarkable military tradition, but which unfortunately by now had lost all their wealth.
So he wasn't writing just as a hobby, it went beyond that.
Yes, because he left the army in order to fulfill his writing ambitions, because he wanted to become a famous author, an author.
An author, yes. How was he so sure that he would actually make it as an author?
Well, he knew he had the potential to become a writer, to earn his living by writing. And for the first time in Germany, after a period of wars and destruction at the beginning of the 19th century, there was a real possibility to do it. So he did it. He tried, at least.
And what sort of things did he write?
Well, he wrote a lot for the stage, but his prose works are amazingly good, of course.
Of course, yes. And Michael Kohlhaas, you and I this year have done a lot, you especially, have done a lot of reading on what the novel is.
And together we have done a lot of discussing about it.
Yes, so the technicality of a novella or of a novel, and we have, and you especially you, with the help of Margaret Doody, have come to the conclusion that Michael Kohlhaas is not a novella. It is a full-blown novel.
Well, first we should say that from an early 19th century point of view, Michael Kohlhaas was considered a novella, period.
Yes, which is fairly limiting. It's very limiting considering the breadth of the writing here. It was very easy to categorize everything in these novella, novel, play, but everything is all connected in a way, and we're now basing ourselves more on sentiment, I think.
Yeah, because nowadays, in the 21st century, things are different. And things are different because we have 200 years of reading experience. And this reading experience has been teaching us that the novel is, and I'm quoting now, a multi-layered polyhedric genre developed in several forms. And maybe now we have another form in front of us, that is Michael Colas, of course.
Yes, exactly. There's always a but there.
Yes, there is a but, because eventually you realize when you read that reading, in fact, is always about instinct, emotions, and feelings, and all this belongs to a never-changing, subjective, not objective sphere, which has always been detached from the so-called real value of literature. But it is not a stable condition. You cannot rely on it. It's fashionable. And so, in the end, you realize that there is, starting from these emotions and so on, a corresponding, surprisingly scientific as well. When you like or dislike something, whatever it is what you're reading, chemical reactions happen all over your body, not only in your brain. You feel the words, the plot, the character. That's amazing, and that's true.
Mm-hmm. And this sentimental approach, or what sentimental is the wrong word, but sentiment approach, feeling what is going on in the writing, is something that's been underplayed enormously. The pleasure principle, the huge pleasure that you get from writing. We don't actually mention that at university. We're too busy saying this is a novel, this is a novella.
It was not serious.
No.
At all.
Pleasure is, we're too puritanical.
No, I don't think so. It was not just being puritanical. It was that you were studying, but you needed a basis, a technical basis, a theoretical basis, which you need, of course, if you want to develop your thoughts in a responsible and comprehensible way. But at the same time, you lose the real value of literature, which starts from the emotion, from the personal, the subjective emotion. And if the subjective emotion is the same for everybody who is reading, or more or less, or it changes, well, this is the second step. I mean, you know that Kleist was born in that year, that he studied that he was an officer, that his family was poor, but at the beginning it was noble, that they had lost everything, that he was, well, he was not a lucky guy, I mean.
No, he was very unlucky.
Yeah, he was very unlucky.
Yes.
He had a lot of problems, economical problems first, that he was helped by his sister, that he lost his parents when he was very young, so he didn't have a leader, he couldn't find the right girlfriend, he just wanted to settle down, but he couldn't actually, because his ambitions were different. He wanted a different life, he wanted to become an author. He knew he was good because everybody told him, you're great, he was a great journalist too, and so on, but
that's the big but, yes.
Yeah,
Very difficult, yes.
We want to stay outside from all of this, because the thing which interests us now, at the end of all this studying and discussing and so on, and reading, a lot of reading, of course,
yes,
is that we want to get rid of that disciplined way of studying that we learned at university, but which is boringly compartmentalized, as you say at the beginning, and is aimed at passing an exam, writing a paper, a book, an article, whatever. But you don't need it as a reader. And we are talking as readers now, as people who want to have fun while reading. That's all.
But also as writers, because if you look at books, some books that are written today, there is poetry in them, there are plays, there are dialogues like from a play, there's a bit that's like from a novel, there might be a letter thrown in there. Yeah. Books, the genres have been blending, and this in fact is more natural.
Yeah.
It is way more natural than the three unities that were imposed in the 1600s on Corneille, Racine, and the writers of that time. I mean, getting out of the rules of how to write. You have to be well, do you even have to be comprehensible? I thought that James Joyce was incomprehensible, but in fact it's very comprehensible if you know how to read it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
So let's get back to Mikhail Kohlhaas then.
Yeah.
Tell us about him. What makes him so interesting?
Well, Mikhail Kohlhaas is a balanced man, what you usually call a good guy. So, unfortunately, good guys are boring, sorry, and they don't sell many copies.
No.
But if a good guy...
Mickey Mouse is boring.
No, he's not boring.
He's goody-goody.
Yes, but it's for kids,
I
and
prefer-
I mean, you need something to relax. But when you read Mikhail Kohlhaas, you don't get relaxed.
No, you're on the
At
edge
all.
of your seat.
Yeah, always for more than 100 pages, and so on.
Yes.
But if a good guy like Mikhail Kohlhaas gets into a bad one, a really bad one, or even worse, an evil one.
An evil one, yes.
Yeah, things and plots and books get much more interesting and appealing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think the development of the character in Mikhail Kohlhaas just shows how somebody who is a good person can realistically become very, very evil, because within us we have good and bad.
Yes, never forget that.
Yes, never forget that.
And
Yes.
there is another aspect which is very important in Kohlhaas, because of course Kleist was clever, he was very smart, and he knew he needed something more. He needed something more to make a masterpiece. And so in this masterpiece there is also a lot of real distraction, not the artificial one, the one which is reproduced in movies or other medias with a lot of special effects. In Mikhail Kohlhaas there are no special effects, of course. We get drawn in all this violence through Kleist's powerful writing. Together with Kohlhaas, we feel the violence, the rage, the thirst for revenge, which is embodied by Kohlhaas. And it's not romantic,
Not
as
at
you
all. No.
might think.
No,
Not at
not
all.
at all.
It's realistic. It's there. You feel it.
Well, he also would have been inspired by the war.
Yes. He was an officer. Let's not forget that.
Exactly, so he would have seen horrendous things, plus it was a time of war, with the Napoleonic Wars, so he saw horrific things, which war can be romanticized in some novels, but when you get to the reality of war in our own last couple of centuries, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we have here?
Yeah. This one, I think.
Okay, there's the game here. Tell me, how does Mikhail Kohlhaas reflect the life of Kleist? This is a typical high school, university question,
Yeah.
so please give us an answer.
Yes, of course. Well, Kohlhaas represents all the frustrations and disappointments which Kleist had to go through, not only as a person, but even as a writer and as an officer in the army. Kleist uses Kohlhaas, let's not forget that, never,
Yes.
just to give voice to his own disillusions. Mikhail Kohlhaas was Kleist's way of counterbalancing his lack of luck,
Yes.
social acknowledgement and success, whatever he had expected and which simply didn't happen.
Yes. So yes, the failure of but Mikhail Kohlhaas, okay, he ended up badly, but the town was named after him and is still famous with that name. And the book has gone down in history as a major novel, a wonderful major novel.
Yeah, we are still reading it.
Again and again and
You
again.
too. You don't know it yet, but
Yes, it's short, so if you haven't read it, definitely read it.
yes.
And then in our research, we discovered something really, really interesting.
Yes, it was June. I was sitting in the library at the Freie Universität in Berlin, and it was a lazy day, very unproductive, and was completely unsatisfied with what I was doing. So, by sheer fluke, I made quite an amazing discovery. I picked up Franz Kafka's diaries, and I found out that Mikhail Kohlhaas, what else, was Kafka's favorite prose work. And I thought, oh, that's a sign.
It is a sign, because now, after 1 year of looking at Kleist, we're going to do a year of Kafka.
Yeah, we try at least. Okay, so see you next time with Franz Kafka.
Yes, goodbye.
Thank you.